Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. I'm Ruth Weinstock of RW Creative Marketing, and today we have Laurie Lisai here to talk about human design and how it can help you in your business. So I am super excited. She did my chart for me. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to let Laurie take the floor and tell us a little bit about it. Welcome, Laurie.
Thank you so much, Ruth. So good to be here. I'm so excited to spend some time with you. So I am a human design mentor and coach. And if you're not familiar with what human design is, it's essentially a tool for self-empowerment. It's a collection, a mix of systems that all come together to essentially tell you how your energy is meant to work, how you are meant to truly be in alignment and live out your purpose. So, one of the things I love about it is you can get really specific action steps to take from your human design to help bring you back into alignment when you're feeling like stuck, and this is not only for, you know, life relationships, but also definitely in business.
Mm, I'm,
So,
I'm excited.
yes, that's great. So what I would love to do is share a little bit about your chart with your listeners and just sort of explain like some of the components of human design and how, we can talk about like how are you living this and how it's been helpful to you in your business, for example.
Wonderful. You want me to share the screen now?
Yeah, that would be great. Let's take a look at your chart.
Will do.
As you're pulling that up, I'll just explain things. I meant systems, and it's really like um, it's a little bit of a like an artsy science. It's some ancient wisdom and some more modern science. So if you can scroll down just a little bit so we could see the top of the body graph, I'll kind of point out yeah, there we go. That's perfect. I'll just sort of point out where you can see the different pieces of systems come into play. So, one of the things that human design incorporates is the chakra system, for example. And most people are familiar with the seven chakras. In human design, we have nine, and those correlate to these shapes here. They're called centers, energy centers.
These things?
And as I said, the traditional chakra system has seven, we have nine. And yeah, you can see when you scroll over, it tells you the name of each of those different centers.
Okay.
So you've got the chakra system. You have the Chinese I Ching, which correlates to these numbers here, which are called gates. We've got the tree of life or the Kabbalah, which correlates to these channels here. So it sort of looks like a circuit board almost. And these are called channels that connect the centers together. And that wisdom comes from the tree of life. Then you've got Western astrology, which you can see the planets here noted on the sides. And then the genetics and quantum mechanics, like that all comes into play when we get into the numbers, which are the gates. Um, in this case, in each of the centers here. So those are kind of the components of human design. And, it's because it's a collection of systems, it's a lot of information. And, depending on what kind of learner you are, a lot of people can like dive really deeply into it and you want to know like all the things. But really, the main things that you need to know are your type, strategy, and authority. And so we can talk about those and talk about how those kind of relate to business, and how knowing these things about yourself can really be beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So, does that sound good?
that sounds awesome.
Okay. So there are 5 energy types. Everybody in the world is broken into these types, and generators are one type. It's about 33-ish% of the population. With When you combine them with manifesting generators, which is another, like, it's sort of like a hybrid type, those two generator types make up 70% of the population. So this is good to know because essentially we live in a generator world. So it's, relatively comfortable for us. And it's easier on us than some of the other types, projectors, reflectors, manifestors, who are not generator types.
Mhm.
And basically, generators are the creative powerhouses. So the fact that you are running a creative marketing agency is great. You've got this. What makes a generator is having this sacral energy right here. This is your sacral center, and if you run your chart and you have this colored in, that's called defined, and it means that it means you are a generator type just by having that sacral defined. And we'll talk about your authority in a few minutes, but or an emotional authority. But this sacral piece, that sacral center, is essentially like a life force energy battery. It's that go, go, go energy. And, and generators, yeah, does that resonate?
Oh yeah, we were just talking my last podcast guest. So if you watch the last podcast guest before this one, yeah, absolutely. All my life, just go, 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 hit it hard. Very in my masculine, very like super overproductive, too productive. Very much so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I can definitely see indicators of that in your chart. Um, so the sacral, having that energy, the way generators often operate is toward mastery of something. Like that's sort of the intention for generators. Is we like to be masterful at something, we like to work toward mastery. Whereas manifesting generators, something that differentiates us a little bit is, manifesting generators tend to do a little bit more dabbling than generators do. Now, there are some other things in your chart that suggest perhaps you do have a bit of that dabbling energy. But just as a general kind of guideline for generators or manifesting generators, I like to kind of liken it to the tortoise and hare story, where a manifesting generator is like a hare, where they're, the rabbit is like bouncing around to all different places and taking a very zigzag approach and dabbling in things and multitasking, trying lots of different things before he or she gets to the finish line. And then the tortoise is much more kind of methodical, moving along, just easy pace, but moving, moving, moving. So they get to it a little bit more in a straight line, so to speak. So this is where that mastery comes in versus like darting around and finding efficiencies, which differentiates the two kind of types of generators.
Mhm.
So when you have all this energy, other people definitely sense it in generators, and they want to tap into it because it's juicy, it's creative, it's life force, right? Like they just sense it, and they want to use it. They want to, they want to take, not take advantage, but they want to leverage that energy. And for generators, here's like kind of the number one guideline hope for any generator is that you are doing what lights you up, what really just lights your soul on fire, excites you, feels good. And how do you know whether that's happening or not? It's when this sacral literally feels lit up. So, if a generator is doing work because they can, they have the energy, but they don't love it, they don't feel lit up by it, they don't feel expanded, then that's a sure way to burn out for generators.
Funny you should
Does
say that. I
Yeah.
think about that all the time. I get very quickly up the ranks. Like even in corporate America, I got up the ranks to being a manager very fast, within 9 months of one of the dealerships. And it's just the cycle of my life. I'll get very, very high up very quickly and then kind of explode and just put myself right back down to the very beginning and start something else. It's been consistent. And I got chronic fatigue in my mid-20s because I was just pushing it too hard. So when you say like we're all will go, I go to the point of destruction, and then that was a blessing, honestly, because I could have ended up with cancer or something else. But it taught me to eat better, sleep better, take care of myself. Took 4 years to come out of that, but still, I'm in this
Mm.
pattern of the cycle, which is where the business came from, and I was like, I need to work for myself. I need to do my own thing finally. Like I can, because I kept thinking I don't work well with bosses, but now you mention that, it's part of my nature to be that way, to push myself to the point where I explode, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, with this, um, this is gate 34, which is like, it's the energy of being busy. And, you have this whole channel, and this energy here is just super powerful. And I can see how that, may have driven you in that direction. Um, so just let's talk for a minute about that gut feeling, that sacral feeling, because that's really what you want to use to guide you. Um, do you feel like you get a gut feeling about things, or if something is really exciting for you, how does it feel in your body?
Mm, well, I'm very auditory, so like my intuition is very much like a little voice that's like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. So a lot of that. And I've only just been like connecting with my body a lot recently in the summertime, but I've always been very, very intuitive. Like I've always known something was leading me. I always said I had angels. I've always kind of been very aware of that, but I really like expanded this summer. So like I wouldn't say I've really connected it to my body. A lot of the negative stuff that crushes me, I've connected to that. But what drives me, where it comes from, I think I feel it here actually. Like it's a heart center. It's like a Care Bear, and I kind of light up when something makes me feel safe and good and wholesome. Like the front side is probably where I'm being led from emotionally, and across my back is where I hold all the tension in the past and the hard work, and it's literally like a backpack. I did an exercise yesterday on this as well, so it was fun. We were speaking to it again. Yeah.
Synchronicities are not accidents, so definitely take note of that, right?
Mhm.
And something that you did when you were talking to me was you leaned forward when you were talking about feeling that light up and where you felt it towards something. So
Mm.
that is something that your body will naturally do when it feels a yes or a pull. Think of it like a pull, it's pulling you right in that direction. Versus the opposite, which would be if you feel yourself kind of pulling back, it's like a contraction.
Mhm.
It might also be so your sacral is roughly 2 inches above your navel ish. And oftentimes people will describe it as like a bubbling up or an expansiveness or a like a flush or a rush of something. you can feel it kind of lighten and move up and out. Versus a no is more the lack of those feelings. It could just be a lack, or sometimes it can be like a real pit, just this
The pit of
drop.
very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Okay. That is your sacral talking to you in like, this is a no. This is like not for me.
Hmm.
So learning to build a relationship with that as a generator type, super, super important because it's also your decision maker. So you mentioned that you get a lot of hits from your intuition. That's this. You see this spleen over here? You've got so many gates lit up over here, and yeah, this is your intuition center. So yes, absolutely, it is talking to you, and it's connected to your sacral center here through this channel. So the 3457. So it's like piping in information to your sacral, and then your sacral will give you a response, will give you like a yes or no.
Hmm.
So to just start building a relationship, and what I mean by that is when you feel a yes, follow it, like trust it. And the more you trust it and take action because of it, the stronger that feeling will develop in your body, and you'll start to notice it more and more, and it will be easier to rely on. What happens is oftentimes we quiet it, or we ignore it. We get these sacral hits and then we don't listen to them or ignore them, and so the sacral is kind of like, well, okay, like I'm just gonna be quiet. It's same with your intuition. If you aren't following your intuition, it's that voice is going to get quieter and quieter.
Hmm.
So as a generator type, you really want to let the sacral determine, is this a yes or no for me? And I've said it a few times, like yes or no, this or that. This is how the sacral talks to you. It's in yes or no answers, or this or that. It's not like open-ended questions. So don't ask your sacral, where should we go, on vacation this summer?
Hmm.
Get anything, versus, um, is it a good idea for us to go to Italy for summer vacation? And then tune in, see what your sacral has to say. If you don't hear anything, give it a bunch of other places. Just say like, is it this? Is it this? Is it this? Um, if you are in relationship or partnership with somebody who is a sacral, this is a great communication tool. If you have people who you're working with in your business, open-ended questions work really well for non-sacral, so manifestors, projectors, or reflectors. But if you're working with a generator type, this or that, yes or no, would be super helpful in negotiations and in chatting about things. Anytime you've got like decisions or choices to be made. Does that make sense? How does that resonate?
Yeah. Yeah, that does. I've always been kind of black and white, so that makes sense. Especially when I was younger. Like, just it's yes or no. I used to say stuff like that. It's like, people would have gray areas and but, and I'm like, no, it's either do it or don't do it. Very, very like that. That makes a sense. Total sense. That's funny that I
Yeah.
being a generator, and when I've done really well in jobs, it's when they put me in places where I could fix stuff and build stuff in the background. But I've spent a lot of time in travel jobs where I was the front face, and I found like just when we were talking, I was like, yeah, I was pretty angry all the time. I was always like, hi, and super good at it. But I like internally, I was a very angry person because people needed me all the time. It was very draining for me. But when I've really excelled, it's when I'm in the background, like building, making, doing, fixing, black and white.
Um, this so beautiful. Let's talk about your profile, because you're essentially telling me that you're a 2-5 here. So this 5 line in your profile. So profile, is oftentimes how people will experience your personality.
Oh, tell me about
So
that.
this 5,
It's a love hate.
sorry.
Tell me about that.
Oh, I think you're going to find like some relief here. Some like, okay, cosmic permission. Um, so the 5 line is it's called the universalizer, but it's the problem solver. It's here to solve problems. It's here to teach things. It's here to like take complicated, concepts and offer them to the collective, to everyone, to be able to like translate it and teach about it and share about it and fix problems. You can see very clearly what a problem is and how to fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't, at least this is probably the third podcast where I've said like fixing stuff. I love it. Fixing people's
Yeah.
funnels, fixing people's crappy ads. Just yeah, definitely me. Yeah, this is fun.
Oh my God. This is so funny. Because the 2 is a couple of things. There's a natural ability with the 2. So when we were talking before I even knew any of, your birth time, your birth information, and you were sharing how you had, come up with some solutions, and you had come up with this specific approach because you saw how something was working and you didn't like how it was working. And so you just did a quick pivot, and you saw that this would, working with podcasts and using these as part of your, marketing strategy and whatnot would be like easy and fun. That hit on a few things. One is that 2 line, that natural. It's like it sounded to me like it was so natural to you to kind of come to that conclusion. um it's the sort of energy where it's like other people will be listening to you and think, how did you come up with that idea? And to you it's like, I'm just breathing, or I'm just blinking, it's like, so, it's almost the energy of, I don't even know how I know, I just do,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So yeah. So the challenge, especially with that 5 line, is to figure out how to translate that to people, because they are going to call you out. And here is the other piece of the 2 that just, it's funny that you said you were the face and it was making you really angry, because the name of the line 2 is the Hermit. And 2s really like to just, be out of the public eye, kind of just like hermit. They want to work remotely. They want to curl up with, a book and a movie and just like be by themselves for a while. Um, and it's that sort of that funny paradox where they're so good at things that people just want, they want to be like, hey, teach me, tell me how to do it, especially with the 5. And the 2 is like, great, I'm just gonna be at home tonight.
Yeah, it is so funny because my previous guest Chelsea, that we talked exactly about that. I said I'm finally living my best life, and all I want to do is just hang out. I'm like a cat. I just lay around all day because that's where everything's happening. My ex-husband could never understand it. He was all like, "What are you doing? You're not doing anything." I'm like, "I'm doing a ton. I'm being still, and in my brain, I'm working through a million problems and business things, and like client stuff and whatnot. And then I'll get up and it'll be like done in like 10-15 minutes when I've figured it all out and put it all into place. And then I'll just blast through whatever I need to
Oh
build in
my,
a couple hours. And then I go back to being a cat again." So it's so funny you should say that. Anyone watching this in sequence, they're just going to see like a pattern forming here. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. The two would be, it's such a great symbol of the cat, you know,
Yeah, definitely. That's it.
I feel like that's such a great yeah, so good, so good. Um, so the last thing that I wanted to loop back to is this strategy piece. Um, and strategy in human design is how you take action, how you interact, how you kind of make your way in the world, or how you're designed to. Each type has a specific strategy. So for generators, it's to respond. And in fact, it's waiting to respond. So I know when I first learned that I was a generator, which I am, um, the waiting part sounded so foreign to me because, you know, I have a ton of energy. Like I move, I shake, like that's, you know, that's what I do. I don't wait for anything. And one of the things I realized was there's actually quite a bit of waiting built into my energetic blueprint, and it serves me better to wait. So, for example, if you have your emotional solar plexus, which is this is center right here, next to the right of the sacral, you're designed to wait, to take time to make decisions, and 50% of the population is like that. You know, there are other types like yourself who are meant to make decisions in the moment,
Mm.
because your sacral is going to tell you right in that moment whether it's a yes or a no for you. It's not, you know, it's not going to take time to think. It's a body. It's like the in human design we say if it's not a full body yes for a generator, then it's a no. You know, if it's not like a hell yes, then it's a no, at least for now. So, so strategy for generators is waiting to respond. And the idea here is essentially letting life come to you. Um, Kind of like just waiting to see what comes into your awareness, into your universe, and then responding to it and using that sacral to see where do you feel a pull, where do you feel, you know, that nudge, where do you feel yourself feeling like expanded, and that's your body telling you, yeah, go this way, go this way. So the founder of Human Design said something like, if you're a generator type, wake up in the morning and just like keep your mouth shut until you have something to respond to and see what happens. So it's a nice little experiment to just see what happens, because the way our auras affect other people is it's this juicy energy that people feel really invited into, and we naturally magnetically attract things that we will respond to,
Mm.
that we are able to respond to. So, you know, I mean, I think about just waking up in the morning and looking out the window. If it's raining, okay, I know I have something to respond to. You know, I get up in the morning, I have a defined route like you do. I get up in the morning, exercise is an integral part of my day. And so I make a decision, you know, right then. What am I going to do today for exercise? It's raining outside. Do I really want to run in the rain? I'm not sure. You know, maybe I'll do a ride on the bike, or maybe I'll lift or something like that. Um, you know, I already have something to respond to just by opening my eyes. Does that make sense? Does that strategy kind of piece make sense? Do you understand?
Mm.
Yeah.
I think it's been,
Okay.
well, it's definitely tying in with a lot of stuff I've realized I needed recently, doing a lot of the divine feminine work and sitting back for different purposes, but the same ends, you know, that going forward to stuff, always chasing stuff and going after stuff. And when I became that person and went into the corporate world, and I think that started to happen, whereas I used to be the lean back person. Like my husband used to be like, how is it people give you stuff all the time? I would come home and I'd have bottles of wine and gifts, and people just did. It's just been that way my whole life. I was like, little happy kind of receiver, you know. just doing what you said, just reacting to stuff. People would say, "Oh, you want this?" I'm like, "Okay," always happy. And then the last 7 years here in America, I kind of got into a different pattern, went into the corporate world, changed me quite like a little bit. So getting back to myself in summer and more into who I used to be, more of that lean back receiving and saying yes or no, and just divine feminine, and now in touch with my sacral. But it's all tying into the stuff that I've been growing on this summer. So it does resonate very much. Definitely.
So good. And, one tip for generator types, especially if you are a busy, business owner, entrepreneur, schedule in time to your calendar to just like empty time to just respond. So instead of having things already planned out for you, which is counterintuitive to the way generators are really
Yeah, I don't plan.
designed to work, just, just leave blocks in your day to like see what comes up, see what comes in to your world, and then respond to that using that sacral power and that sacral energy to know, like, okay, should I be following this today? Like, what does that feel like? Am I feeling pulled? Am I feeling like expanded by this thing? And even if it's only 10 minutes a day, just close your computer, go for a walk, and respond to things that come to you
Mm-hmm.
is a really, really good tip.
Mm.
So yeah, one of the things that that we talked about was, how to know what to do when you're stuck. And I think learning type strategy and authority are really great ways to kind of shake that up. If you're feeling stuck, for example, and you are type, then we should or you have to versus where are you saying yes to things because they truly light you up. That would be a great place to start. My guess would be if you're feeling stuck, it's in something that you've said yes to that is not like it's not a full body yes. It's not um you said it because you felt like you had to, or it was, something that felt like a should.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great kind of indicator for you if you're feeling stuck.
Mm.
And then the other thing I would say is to look at that decision making. Where is your decision making meant to happen in your body, and how can you start to tune into your body, the feelings that it's experiencing, and use that to help you make decisions instead of getting stuck up here, with the thought loops and the patterns that we tend to get into as humans.
Mm-hmm.
So two kind of things there.
Mm. Yeah, someone taught me something really valuable many years ago. If there's any resistance, then figure out what they're like, why are you resistant? So if you want to do something and you try to do something and there's a whole ton of resistance there, you need to figure out why. And with me, it's usually just I don't want to. So I feel the slightest bit of resistance, and it's probably there actually. Now you mention it, sacral, like I can't move forward. Something's holding me back at the front. And I'm just like, oh, I don't want to. And that's like the last few times I've tried to do something and I'm like, oh, it seems like such a chore. And I'm like, because I don't want to. It's usually the easier answer. So I've said yes to something and it wasn't a full body yes, which is a no. I don't want to. That's happened a couple of times. And as soon as I feel it, I'm like, just don't even try.
Oh my.
No point. No point.
Yeah, because oftentimes when you do that, right, you don't get the results that you wanted, or something just goes awry. Yeah.
Mm.
And it's funny you used um you said, "Oh, I don't want to." Just wanting to point out that sound is sacral. That's
Oh,
your
really?
sacral talking as well. So, yeah, just another way to kind of recognize your sacral at work. And it's funny, it's one of those things that often gets conditioned out of us when we're children. You know, just with our parents sometimes saying, if you answer a question, or or that kind of thing, those sounds are sacral sounds. And a lot of times parents will be like, well, let's be proper, say yes or no, not or, it feels a little more informal. But
Mm,
those are actually just the guttural sounds of the sacral. So, really encouraging those sounds to come out of you and just noticing those about you. When you just get an ooh, about something, that's a sacral, it's your sacral communicating with you. So just ways to
wow.
hear it and note it.
Yeah, I can see why it would get silenced with that. If it's those guttural kind of sounds, they're not kind of appropriate, as you get older. So you lose touch with that.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. They're not pretty necessarily, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Do we still
Yeah.
need to be sharing this? Are we going to go through more?
No, I think we're good. I think we're good.
I
This
want
is
to
great.
easier to share clips that are a little bigger on some of the platforms. So this is like super exciting. I can imagine I bet people that didn't understand what this was would now have so many aha moments. Like, because I didn't, looking back on my careers, they're incredible careers. I made tons of money and went and saw the world and stuff. But, maybe if I'd known a little bit more about myself, I might have gone down the computer programming route, which is what I wanted to do as a kid. But for whatever reasons, parents and stuff, that didn't happen. But that was as a child, I was sitting with a Sinclair ZX Spectrum and I was programming it at like 8 years old when they had the tapes and stuff, them old clunky things. And that's why I really would have been if parents hadn't been whatever they were or whatever. And then I went, into careers that were phenomenal, but probably weren't the best suited to me. But you just do what you do, I did them for different reasons. I wanted to travel. But for people that, maybe are stuck in career or don't
Mhm.
know or frustrated or just, in a bad place career wise, something like this could really give you a good idea of where you should be, what you should be doing. Because I don't think as people we really think about that. We just think, oh, this is good money, let me do that, or this is whatever, I'll try that, or I'll try this career, or this is cheap course, I'll do that and learn phlebotomy or whatever. We don't really think about what suits us and go that route to find happiness in career. So I love this living design for that. Very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so true, in human design. And, I'll just say, like with the computer programming, it's never too late, if that still feels like a sacral hell yes to you,
I'm kind of there. I'm very, there's a lot of coding and stuff required
maybe
to do it.
it's something you pursue. Yeah, it's such a great system for, uh, 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 you know if you're looking, there are other elements that are super helpful to know about as an entrepreneur and in marketing even. We didn't get into them today, but there are lots of things that you can look at in your design for the types of offers that you should put out there, how you should work with clients, how you should how your I shouldn't say should, but how you're designed, how your energy is optimally used in things like marketing, for example. So some great, like, really insightful tidbits to use in business. And it's fascinating to me. I could I could talk about it for hours.
Oh wow, I definitely want to dig into the marketing stuff because I'm feeling some friction in certain areas. So I would love to get into that deeper with you. So tell the viewers if they want to get with you and get this done for themselves and go in deep or so then we've gone here, tell them how they get in touch with you and where they need to go, and we will put the links on the bottom as well to your website and your offers.
Yeah, perfect. So my website is a great place to start. It's laurieleeside.com. And you can get your free chart there. You need your birth time, which is pretty important. Um, so if it takes a little bit of homework, it really is you. It's to your advantage to find your correct birth time, and then your birthplace, your birthday. That's all you need for information, and then it generates your blueprint, and you'll receive some information from me in terms of some of the vocabulary and just some helpful you know guidelines and information about how to use it and what it all means. So check out my website, and then I'm also on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, so feel free to connect with me there.
Do you do one-on-one once they do your website, or is it just kind of the website and okay, so they can come to you directly?
I do one-on-one. I have Absolutely. Yep. I have sessions on there where I'll do just, something similar to what we did, a little more in depth though. And then I also have like longer term coaching arrangements where I'll work with people to, integrate their design. So once they learn these things about themselves, then it's like, how do you actually live it and
Oh.
use it and practice with it? And so I help support them through that journey. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, because someone who's not, I've been like doing it for on and off for years, self-discovery. Tony Robbins when I was a teenager, and then from there I never looked back. But for people who are starting out, like this whole thing could be totally overwhelming to the point where they would shut down. I'm self-discovery is like that. It can be very, no, don't want to say traumatic, but it can be very difficult to swap things up when you realize you've been living life a certain way, like me in those travel careers, and then finding out like they really weren't for me. That not that I was super invested in them like for a life or whatever, but some people might be in a job and not realize why they're miserable or why it's not working, and just think that that's where they are, and to transition out of that. So coaching aspect of it's really really wonderful for our viewers, for anyone who wants to make that transition and use this as our springboard. It's fantastic. We're definitely going to talk more on the marketing. I love that. I love there's more in there. I'm down. Excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Ruth.
Oh, you're so welcome. This has been wonderful. Super fun podcast today. Super fun. Thank you
Yay.
so much.